There's a certain value to suffering. We do almost anything we can to protect ourselves from the pain, but surrendering to the feelings that come with it and embracing the help that's out there is often the thing that makes us stronger. That's the message that Ashlyn Harris lives and breathes. As the goalkeeper for the Orlando Pride and a member of the World Cup winning United States national soccer team, Ashlyn is in the spotlight a lot.
This is where it all started.
But it's her life away from the pitch that's most meaningful to her.
It's a place that keeps me grounded, you know? Like, so much pressure in my lifestyle, or so much travel, and it's so hectic, and to be able to come and just sit at the water and be grounded and appreciate my life and my quiet time is what keeps me coming back here, you know? Everything is really close here. This place is tiny, so even when I was a kid, everything I did, I longboarded. I went to school, I longboarded to school, and it's funny because there's a few colleges here, and when you walk into the college, there's not many bike racks, but there's like longboard racks. So you walk into a room and on the wall, you stack your boards. And that's a little different, I guess, than anywhere else in the world. I think I've always had like a creative mind, and like there's an art to it that you have to appreciate, and that's mostly appreciating the water. And I love being out there because nothing else matters. It's just, you don't hear any sound, you just hear the waves. And it's a feeling that's hard to describe. It just is really soothing, and it brings me into like a different world, you know, and no one's judging me out there, you know. It's like all love, all my friends just love that I can come out and hang with them, and I'm not getting critiqued. I'm just like enjoying like the beauty of the ocean and the time spent with my friends and my family, and a lot of it's spent out here on the water.
Ashlyn's childhood was far from perfect. Addiction threatened to tear her family apart on days when they fought to keep it together. She struggled with depression and found relief in activities like skating and surfing. But it was always soccer that seemed to be her greatest escape.
I mean, I know a lot of kids probably struggle with the same thing I was struggling with as a kid. You know, my parents, you know, there was a lot of issues and money issues and things I probably still to this day have no idea about, but all I know is they didn't get along, and they would fight quite a bit, and my escape and my therapy was to drown myself in my sports, and that's what I did. I followed my brother around everywhere I went and played baseball, soccer. I would skate with him every day. We would build our own skate parks on our streets, but also it kept me out of trouble. You know, when you come from a small town, and it's easy to find things to do that you probably shouldn't be doing, but that was my way of kind of getting off the street and making sure I'm not doing the things I shouldn't be doing. And I also just enjoyed it. I loved it. It was fun for me. The skate park was like, especially at night when all the lights were on and everyone was just hanging out and talking, and it was like a freedom for me, and I didn't have to hear the fighting or hear the arguments or just feel like I had to walk on eggshells. Like, there was just a really negative energy and vibe I didn't love about the house at the time, and there came a point where my brother left and went to school, so it was just me, and I had to be active, I had to be outside, and that's what I did. I think that I've always struggled with some type of depression, and I always tried to find ways to cope with it, whether that at a young age was drugs or drinking or anything I could kind of get my hands on to ease that feeling. And then I just started to, do therapy and talk out my feelings and talk about what I saw as a kid and the mistakes and the decisions I made. And I had a lot of coaches who knew I was struggling, and they guided me and they gave me, you know, a platform to get some help. And that was talking to someone, you know, often, and getting me out of this environment.
Ashlyn knew that leaving her hometown before college was in her best interest. Soccer was simply the vehicle that drove her to a better place.
I went to such a wonderful environment with the national team, and then off to college, and I was raised there. I was raised with the youth national team. I started going in when I was 13, and here I am, 30 years old, and I haven't stopped. So I learned a lot about myself. I failed a lot. I disappointed a lot of people, and you know, I wasn't the best sister or daughter or cousin, but I was doing the best I could with the hand I was dealt, and I blamed a lot of, you know, my issues on my upbringing and addiction that I saw, because addiction was in my family, and seeing that and seeing it rip apart everything, it was difficult. And now, instead of being angry about it, I'm learning to understand it. I'm learning to not blame myself and not blame other people. And the best healing mechanism for me has been talking about it and being open about it, and telling people, like, hey, I struggle too. Every day I struggle. But I find the beauty in life, whether it's looking at the water or looking at the wonderful people around me, you know, the people that push me, the people who have believed in me from day one, and not just believed in my soccer, but believed I could be successful, I could be a good human being, and I could, you know, hopefully help one day. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is take my experiences and all those moments where I felt so alone, and I would isolate myself, and I would shut everyone out, and I was extremely aggressive because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions as a kid. And the only way I knew how to deal with it was either harming other people or harming myself. I have to be able to be open and honest and not pretend like it doesn't haunt me, you know? I have a whole bag of demons that I deal with every single day, but I find a way to find beauty in life, you know? I find a way to continue my journey and tell my story, because I think it's so important. All of these people, all these fans, all these friends, they're a huge part of my story, and I want them to feel a part of it. When you're talking about some of the darkest moments, it's a very intimate, like, personal feeling. It's very hard to share that and talk about it, and you don't want people to feel sorry for you, you know, and you don't want to get that attention, you know. At the end of the day, we live in a really cruel world, and sometimes all we need is love a little bit, you know. All I need is for one person to come up and ask me how I'm doing, or put their arm around me, or for me to do the same. You know, like I do feel like we've created this jungle, this life, and it's, you know, it's cutthroat, and constantly we're living in our own minds because we're thinking about what's next and how do I get to the top? How do I make more money? Instead of just being a good person, like taking a second and holding a door open for someone and asking how their day is, you know, like what happened to those little intimate conversations that is so vital to human interaction and human kindness and being present. You know, I win the World Cup, or I go here and I make this roster. I'm always thinking, what's next? What's next? It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And sometimes I have to take a step back and appreciate and say, wow, I've accomplished so much, and I need to be grateful for that. And I need to sit in that moment for a second and feel that good vibe and that accomplishment. But sometimes it's so easy to just forget it and say, okay, let's move on to the next thing. What do I want to accomplish?
Have you ever thought of harming yourself or had suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think at some point, like, our demons get the best of us. And that's why I have such a good support system around me, you know? Like, I try to, when I feel like I'm drowning and I can't keep my head above water, it's almost like these people in my life are my flotation device. They keep me afloat, and until I can swim on my own, I need those people around me. And as a kid, I just isolated myself, you know, and I didn't understand, and now I do, and I'm okay talking about it because I do struggle and I do have demons, and I think everyone does. And if they tell you otherwise, they're lying, and they're lying to themselves. But this is life, you know. This is the hard things that people struggle with, and we have to be okay to talk about it. Otherwise, it'll keep getting swept under the rug. People will continue to keep harming themselves, or cutting themselves, or killing themselves. And I want to be that person to say, hey, you know what? I have all these things in life I always wanted, that I worked my entire life for. I still struggle. And I probably will the rest of my life. But I'm learning to deal with it. And at the end of the day, I always know that I'm living an incredible life, and I have incredible people in it. And my story is worth telling, my story is worth living, and maybe a few thoughts here and there won't suppress that feeling of wanting to wake up and say hello to the people that mean the most to me, and playing in front of my fans, and, you know, being the last one to sign autographs, because I want to try to really have that intimate connection with everyone who I come across, because maybe it saves someone's life. I've had several kids, young kids, you know, whether it's struggling with their sexuality or struggling with people not accepting them and being made fun of or being bullied. I mean, I hear it all the time, you know, and they come up and they say, you know, I know this, you probably might hear this all the time, but you really have saved my life. And if I didn't find To Write Love on Our Arms, maybe I wouldn't be here. And even a 50-year-old woman, the last time we played in Orlando, came up to me and said the same thing. She said, you have saved my life. You've led me in the right direction. You've given me purpose again. And I'll forever be grateful for that. And I can't hear enough of that, because it makes me so happy and so proud. And to me, maybe I don't play 50 games, or maybe I don't get 50 caps. Maybe I never play in an Olympic or a World Cup, something I can't control. But that I can control. I can control having those conversations with people. I can control maybe being that difference in their life, that they decide, it's not so bad after all, like, I deserve to be here. I don't want to end it early. And that's the most important thing to me. My soccer has given me that, and I'll forever be grateful for it. But I do feel that my purpose is to help people, and to help people who struggle, and tell them my story. Maybe it helps them live theirs a little bit longer, you know? The simplest thing is telling someone you're here for them, and that you love them, and that, you know, they're not a disappointment, and they're not alone, goes a far way, you know? And I think sometimes we're so caught up in ourselves that we don't even see that people struggle. And I think we have to open our hearts a little bit more, and open our mind, and see, like, hey, you know what? I haven't heard from this friend in a while. Like, I'm gonna reach out to him or her, because maybe they're struggling. And if we do a little bit more of that, people won't feel so alone here. And I think that's what it comes down to, is not feeling loved, not feeling like you fit in, you know, not feeling, you know, like you're a part of something. My sport is bigger than just the game. It brings people together. And if I can bring people together and make them feel a part of something bigger than themselves, then I'm doing my job.